Let's talk about one of the most important figures in all of Western philosophy. A man who never actually wrote down a single word of his own, but whose ideas completely changed the way we think about pretty much everything. Knowledge, right and wrong, and even the meaning of life itself. His name was Socrates.
But here's the central puzzle of his life. If Socrates was widely considered the wisest man alive, why on earth did his own city, the great democracy of Athens, sentence him to death? The whole story starts not with a crime, but with a strange, puzzling message from a god.
You see, Socrates' entire life's mission didn't start in a school or from some old book. Nope. It all began because a friend of his took a trip to the most sacred place in the ancient world, the Oracle at Delphi.
So Socrates' friend, a guy named Chaerephon, asks the oracle a simple question. Is anyone wiser than Socrates? And the priestess gives this shocking, crystal clear answer. Nope, no one. But when Socrates heard this, he wasn't flattered. He was just baffled.
Socrates was absolutely convinced he knew next to nothing. So he figured the oracle had to be speaking in a riddle, and he felt this kind of divine duty to prove the god wrong. His plan? It was simple, really. He'd walk around Athens and find someone, anyone, who was clearly wiser than he was. And this is what set him on a collision course with the most powerful people in the city.
So he starts this methodical investigation. First up, he goes to the politicians. You know, the guys with the reputation for wisdom. He found out they thought they knew everything, but couldn't actually defend any of their beliefs. Next, he went to the poets. Sure, they created these beautiful works of art, but they had no idea how to explain their own inspiration. Finally, he talked to the artisans. Now, they definitely knew their craft, but that expertise made them think they were experts on everything else, which they really, really weren't.
And all of this led him to this huge, profound conclusion. He finally understood the oracle's riddle. You see, his wisdom wasn't about having all the answers. Not at all. His only advantage was that he didn't pretend to know things that he didn't actually know. True wisdom, he figured out, starts with admitting your own ignorance. It's an idea we now call intellectual humility, and it's probably more important today than ever.
Now, this realization wasn't just some private aha moment. It became his whole public persona. By constantly questioning people and exposing their shaky claims to knowledge, he got a nickname, the gadfly of Athens. You know, like an annoying fly that stings a big, lazy horse, the state, to get it to wake up and think. But, as you can imagine, this method was pretty dangerous.
This technique of just relentless questioning is what we now call the Socratic method. And here's the key. It's not about winning an argument. It's about working together through conversation to get closer to the truth. And a lot of the time, that means finding out that the things you believe are actually kind of inconsistent. It's a technique that's still used all over the place today, from law schools to therapy, all with the same goal, helping people uncover their own hidden assumptions.
I love this analogy Socrates used. He saw himself as a philosophical midwife. He believed the truth was already inside a person, waiting to be born. So his job wasn't to give them new ideas, but to ask just the right questions to help them give birth to their own understanding. And then, of course, to check if that newborn idea was actually healthy or if it was flawed.
So you can probably guess how this all went over. Let's be honest, nobody likes being publicly shown that they don't really know what they're talking about, especially not powerful politicians or famous poets. This whole process, as Socrates himself admitted, made him some very powerful, very dangerous enemies who felt totally humiliated by him.
But for Socrates, this method of questioning wasn't just a party trick or a hobby. For him, it was the entire point of being human. And it was a principle he was, in the end, willing to die for.
And that brings us to his most famous statement, the unexamined life is not worth living. Just think about the sheer weight of that for a second. He's saying that a life lived on autopilot, a life where you never stop to question your own beliefs, your own values, your own actions, that kind of life is missing something fundamental. So what does it actually mean to examine your life? Well, it really means following that ancient Greek advice, know thyself. It means putting your own beliefs on trial. Ask yourself, are they consistent? Can I actually justify them with good reasons? Do I understand the real reasons why I do the things I do? In our world of constant distraction, this call to just turn inward and do the work, well, it might be more radical than ever.
And, well, inevitably, all those enemies he made finally caught up with him. They brought him to the ultimate examination, a real-life trial where his very life was on the line.
The state of Athens officially put Socrates and his entire way of living on trial. The charges against him were pretty telling. A young politician named Milets was the main accuser, and the official charges weren't just for being annoying. No, they were much more serious, corrupting the youth and undermining the city's gods. And he would have to face a massive jury of 500 of his fellow citizens.
And the end came incredibly fast, all in 399 BCE. Miletus makes the accusation. At the trial, Socrates doesn't just defend himself, he defends the very idea of a philosophical life. He was defiant. He refused to back down. But it wasn't enough. The jury of 500 found him guilty, and the sentence was death.
So after he's convicted, Socrates is offered a choice. He could have proposed a different punishment, like being exiled from Athens. I mean, he could have easily saved his own life. But his response shows us the final, unshakable core of his entire philosophy.
He flat out refused. To him, to stop asking questions, to just be quiet to stay alive, that would be betraying the very divine mission he believed had guided his whole life. To stop being a philosopher would be a kind of death in life, something far worse than actually dying.
Now, this decision was based on two really radical ethical ideas. First, he believed that when you harm another person, the person you're really hurting is yourself, because you're corrupting your own soul. And second, he argued that no one willingly does evil. He thought people only do bad things out of ignorance. They mistakenly think that what they're doing is somehow good for them.
And this was his ultimate defense, his final word on the matter. His accusers could vote to kill his body, sure, but they had absolutely no power over what really mattered, his virtue, the integrity of his character. In his eyes, by unjustly condemning him, they were harming themselves way more than they could ever possibly harm him.
So, we're going to end this where Socrates would want us to, with a question for you. He showed us that some principles are worth dying for, and that the foundation of a good life is self-examination. So what about you? What is one core belief you hold that you've never really truly